articles I would contains the first one. Chat here is consider the first filters. Well, sitting is okay. Salam Habibi, how are you? I hope you are fine. It is me, Michaela Santa. I am here with you. Well, according with titles, yes, today we are roasting Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Now, here is my point is, what is the topic to roast Maulana Abu Toha Adnan? Well, the topic is the Islamic predictions of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan about Imam Mahdi, where keyword is United States of America. And now, according with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, after the collapse of United States of America, Israel would be the ruling state, and he would say several predictions about Imam Mahdi, and according with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, we human would be back to sword and horse era after the collapse of United States of America. According to it is the statement of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Now let's check it. What is the reality? Well, here I can lie. Okay. Well, here it is the moments. Well, after the downfall of United States of America, Israel would be the ruling state. Well, it is the points of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Well, Kash Patel is having a relation with Christy Noem. Well, Kash Patel is having a relation with Christy Noem. I don't know about Christy Noem. And now, let's check it. What is the returns? To protect ourselves from them, Jewish and Christians, Allah Rabbul Alamin unite every Muslim community. Christian. Oh. Now, well, now here we can, in every village, every country, every Imani young man would be united. Okay. Now here we could see these moments. Now here let's see what is the statement of Abu Toha Adnan. United States of America would not be exist. America would not exist in that times after the victory of Imam Mahdi. Well, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and the Western civilization would be collapsed. Well, technology would be collapsed, and humans would be back to the sword, shield, and the horse eras. It is the statements of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Okay, and now let's check it. What is the reality? Well, now I think reality is opposite of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Why I am saying like that? Because here is the significant points. Okay, first of all, here we are talking about the points between United States President Donald Trump F-16 fighter planes versus Imam Mahdi's horse. Okay. Now first of all, here we can see that is the moments uh, flying distance is 15,000 kilometers. F-16 fighter plane flying time is 1 second and half of weight of plane is 10 to the power 5 kilograms. What is the kinetic energy? The kinetic energy is here 22.5 trillion megawatts. On the other hand, here we can see what about the Imam Mahdi's horse. Imam Mahdi's horse time is flying time is 100. Flying velocity. Oh, here we can see take the voice. Flying time is 150 hours. That means 12 days, 6 hours. Half of weight of Imam Mahdi's horse is 1600 kilograms. Air kinetic energy is almost 2287 watts. And now, here we could see this. Well, here I would mention what is Imam Mahdi's horse. First of all, here let's check it. And here I would mention at the moment, just for a moment. Well, now here we can write here a well, here we can see these points. Imam Mahdi, Imam Mahdi, horse, photo, Imam Mahdi's horse photo, and it is well, it is the several photos of Imam Mahdi. And now let's check it. Here we can write here the several movements. US F 16 fighter jets. Well, now here we can see what is United States F-16 fighter jets. That is here. Well, now here is the point that how can I calculate the Imam Mahdi's horse kinetic powers versus AK for United States F-16 fighter planes kinetic powers. And here we know this the equations of kinetic power is half of weight of flying object multiplied by flying distance divided by flying time. Here we can see equation of kinetic power is half of weight of flying object multiplied by flying distance square divided by flying time cube. Okay. Now, when we are talking about F-16 fighter planes, Donald Trump, here kinetic power is almost here velocity is 15,000 km per second. Here flying time is 1 second and flying distance is 15,000 kilometers. And here the equations of F-16 kinetic powers of F-16 fighter planes is half of weight of United States F-16 fighter planes multiplied by distance square. And here calculations is, well, 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 15 square multiplied by 10 to the power 6 square. Because half of weight of F-16 fighter planes is 100,000 kilograms. Well, now what is 15 square? That is 225. And what is 10 to the power 6 square? That is 10 to the power 12. And here 10 to the power 12 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 is 10 to the power 17. And here we could see that the flying planes is, here kinetic power is 20. Here kinetic power is 225 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 watts. That means 22.5 trillion megawatts. And on the other hand, now Imam Mahdi's horse weight is half of weight of Imam Mahdi's horse is 1600 kilograms. When the flying distance is 15,000 kilometers, Imam Mahdi's horse flying time is 12 days, 8 hours. That means, 12 days, 6 hours. That means 54 multiplied by 10 to the power 4 seconds. And here, that is the way how is going the points. Now, here the variables point is departure time versus arrival time. Okay. Well, here departure place is United States of America. City is Washington DC, and arrival place is Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh, for United States F-16 fighter planes. And for Imam Mahdi, departure is Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh, and arrival is, well, New York City of United States of America. And now, it is the points. Both of United States Donald Trump F-16 fighter planes and Imam Mahdi's horse, here departure time is morning 6 o'clock, March 20, 2026. And now, let's take the points. What is arrivals? Well, arrival point is morning 6 o'clock. Okay. Now, what is the arrival time? For United States, Donald Trump F-16 fighter planes, arrival time is morning 6 o'clock, 1 second past March 20, 2026. But what is arrival time for Imam Mahdi? Well, Imam Mahdi's arrival time would be almost April 1st, 2026, midday 12 o'clock. It is arrival times for Imam Mahdi's horse. Okay. Now it is the departure points. According with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, we would be back to horse and sword era. These points we are talking about horse. According with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, we would be back on horse era. After the collapse of United States of America, and after collapse of United States of America, according with the statement of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, Imam Mahdi would get victory against Dajjal, the Jewish king of Israel. That is the point. But the problem is reality is the different from the statement of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, or I would say that the reality is simply opposite of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. How is that? I would mention it. Okay. Now, accordance with United States President Donald Trump F-16 fighter planes, here flying distance is 15,000 kilometers and flying timing is 1 second. That means the velocity of Donald Trump's F-16 fighter planes velocity is 15,000 kilometers per second. Yes. Now, this is the mid times that we can travel 15,000. We can travel the distance of 15,000 kilometers with the velocity of 15,000 kilometers per second. Okay, and it is the mid times as we can see. Okay, this is the United States aeromobile technology. I mean, United States aeromotor technologies say that the velocity can be 15,000 kilometers per second. In the technologies, it is the impossible to believe that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan could predict the collapse of United States of America. Okay. Now, probably United States of America can be collapsed. But before collapse of United States of America, every country would be collapsed. Even the entire Muslim community would be biologically disappear before the collapse of United States of America. How would it be possible? Here we can see these points. Well, according with Bangladeshi technologies, here we can travel 15,000 kilometers with the velocity of 200 kilometers per hour. According with Bangladeshi aeromotor technology. Okay. Now, 15 multiplied by 10 cube divided by 2 multiplied by 10 square. I mean, 15 multiplied by 10 cube divided by bracket of 2 multiplied by 10 square bracket close. Here we can see the points. What is 10 cube divided by 10 square? That is 10. Okay. Now, 150 divided by 2, that is 75. That means, according with Bangladeshi automobile technology, well, the Bangladeshi JF-17 can travel 15,000 kilometers in 75 hours. But according with United States Donald Trump aeromotor technologies, United States F-16 fighter plane can travel 15,000 kilometers in 1 second. And what about the private Boeing planes? Well, American private civilian planes can travel 15,000 kilometers in 1 minute. That is the necessary points. And here, that is the significant necessary because 15,000 kilometers per minute or 15,000 kilometers per second, that is the velocity of the planes that can keep United States of America alive. And what about United States air sovereignty? Well, United States, the technology of the aeromotor with the velocity of 15,000 km per second can protect the United States air sovereignty. And I think here is no other country that can contains their own air technologies that can provide their own plane velocity of 15,000 kilometers per second. Even here, Russian Sukhoi 37 could not travel with velocity of 15,000 km per second. Well, in the highest velocity, Russian Sukhoi 37 can travel 15,000 km per hour. That means if here is the war between the most powerful countries, United States of America, and the most powerful second military country, Russia. In the war between United States of America versus Russia, well, United States air sovereignty can be protected because of F-16 fighter planes with a velocity of 15,000 km per second. And here we can see that when every kafir countries except United States of America can be in existence, hence in that terms United States of America cannot be collapsed. Well, and when Muslim community would be in existence, United States of America cannot be collapsed. It is the reality of the points. Now, my question is to Abu Toha Adnan. When Muslim community would exist after Imam Mahdi, then how would be the possible that Abu Toha Adnan can predict the collapse of United States of America, where Imam Mahdi's horse can fly 15,000 kilometers in 12 days, 6 hours, where United States Donald Trump F-16 fighter planes can travel 15,000 kilometers in 1 second. It is the questionable points as we could see. Okay, and now let's check it. Here are the significant moments. Okay. Well, I would see it is okay for it. Now let's talk it about the points. Well, now accordance with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's, after the collapse of United States of America, Imam Mahdi would defeat Dajjal in the return era of sword and horse. Okay. Now, sword point is clear, and now let's take it about horse points. Okay. Let's see. Well, now here Imam this sword length is 2 meters. Imam Mahdi's sword's half of weight is, let's assume 100 kilograms. Okay, let's assume Imam Mahdi's sword's angular velocity is angular velocity is omega, and I do not know what is the meanings of what is the equations of omega. Okay, let's check it. Well, accordance with the points, well, Here we could see that omega is actually the angular velocity, where equations of angular velocity is linear velocity divided by radius. And what is the radius? That is here Imam Mahdi's sword. And now I would control the bamboo sword. Here Imam Mahdi's sword's length is 2 meters. Here we can see the points. Here I can, as an effective pulse, I can convert the sword with the angular velocity of 90 degree per second. And here we can see the pulse. I would convert it the 180 degree per second in the response. Well, and now here is the topic at the points. Now, what is the Newtonian kinetic energy equations? That is half of weight of Imam Mahdi source multiplied by omega square multiplied by sword length square, because the equations of kinetic energy is half of weight of object multiplied by linear velocity squares, and linear velocity is of radians multiplied by angular velocities. Okay, and it is the points. And here let's match Imam Mahdi's source kinetic energy match with Donald Trump's F-16 fighter plane kinetic energy. Okay. Now what is Donald Trump's F-16 kinetic energies? That is 23 multiplied by 10 to the power 18. Okay. Now please note it. And now let's check at the points. And here the points is very necessary. And now the equations, according to information, equations becomes 23 multiplied by 10 to the power 8 equal to half of weight of Imam Mahdi sword multiplied by omega square angular velocity square multiplied by Imam Mahdi's sword length square. Okay. When Imam Mahdi's sword length is 2 meters, Imam Mahdi's sword length square is 4 meters square. Okay. Now half of weight of Imam Mahdi's sword is 100 kilograms. It is okay. Now 100 multiplied by 4 is 400. We do not know the angular velocity. Hence the equation becomes 23 multiplied by 10 to the power 18 equal to 400 multiplied by omega squared. And what is the points? Omega, angular velocity is squared. Now angular velocity is equal to square root of 23 multiplied by 10 to the power 9 divided by 20. Okay. Hence the calculations becomes square root 23 enter divided by 2 enter multiplied by 10 to the power 8. And here is the result, that is 239,791,577 radius per second. Okay. Now let's say about the practicals. Here our efficiency point is almost 200. here my angular velocity is, here we can see that here my angular velocity is at 90 degree per second, and some of Olympic athletes here angular velocity is 2000 degree per second. Okay, now let's see what is 2000, what is 90 degree, that is pi by 2. Okay, now here the calculations, I would see the points. Well, I forgot the moments, and here I would take a help from my favorite weapons calculator. Okay, now 3.1416 divided by 180 multiplied by 2000. Okay, what is the meaning of that? Well, that is almost 35 radians per second. Okay, now here we can see this 35 radians per an athlete can contains the hand with angular velocity of 35 radians per second. But here, if Imam Mahdi wants to defeat Donald Trump's F-16 fighter planes, I mean Dajjal's Israeli Jewish King Dajjal's F-16 fighter planes, here that provided by Donald Trump, then Imam Mahdi requires sword with angular velocity of 239,791,577 radians per second, and that is impossible. How I could say the impossible, I mean how I could say impossible it, and here I would say the points. Well, first of all, here let's check it. The significant moments at the journeys. Well, and now here we can see the significant journeys. Now let's check 239, 791, 577 divided by 35. Okay. Now what is the actual moments? That is 6,861,188 times angular fast. Okay. Now athlete angular power. Now let's take it the points. Athlete's angular velocity is 35 radians per second. But if Imam Mahdi wants to defeat F-16 fighter planes of Israel provided by United States President Donald Trump, then what is the points? Then here Imam Mahdi's sword requires the velocity of 239,791,588, I mean 577 radians per second. That is almost how much first? That is almost 6,851,188 times for angular faster than the absolute angular velocity, and that is the significant points in this moment. It is not possible for humans, and here in the points, humans' hand joints can be broken, or I would say human hand joints can be torn. And it is the points here is probably that as Imam Mahdi's sword cannot defeat United States President Donald Trump X-16 fighter plane owned by Dajjal, the Jewish king of Israel. Okay. Now here is the comments. I would take a point. You are surviving for well done. Okay. Yes, your point is okay. Well, I am reacting the several topics, and I am reacting contents, and it is here I am reacting the Instagram reels repeatedly, but here the angular points is different, and previous live stream angular points was Israel, and this time the angular point is United States of America. Okay? Well, and now here is this moment, and here that is we can see the points. Now here I have mentioned radius per second, and now I would mention it as a degree per second. Well, as the degree per second, if Imam Mahdi wants to defeat United States Donald Trump F-16 fighter planes, according to the degree per second, Imam Mahdi's source record the angular velocity of 13 billion 739 million 13,189 degree per second. And but if the angular velocity can be 12 billion in lieu of 13 billion 739 million 13,198 degree per second. Hence, it is difficult for Imam Mahdi to defeat United States Donald Trump X-16 fighter planes. And now, here athlete angular velocity is 2000 degree per second, where athletes are at our Imam Mahdi's sword angular velocity is 90 degree per second. With a 90 degree per second of angular velocity, Imam Mahdi's sword cannot defeat United States F-16 fighter planes provided by United States President Donald Trump. And here, that is the moment as we could see. And when Imam Mahdi soars angular velocity of 11 billion degree per second cannot defeat United States F-16 fighter planes, then my question is, how could it be possible that Abu Toha Adnan stated that after collapse of United States of America, Imam Mahdi's Muslim army would defeat the Jewish army of Israel, when the reality is, when Muslim community would exist, United States of America would not collapse. And it is the realities at the moment. And here, Abu Toha Adnan's predictions about the return of sword era is kind of some impossible way. Okay. And now let's check it the significant second points. Here significant second points is interesting, and here significant second points is here we could notify United States President Donald Trump laser rifles versus Imam Mahdi's sword. Okay. Now here we can see the points. Well, but now let's talk about the realities, today's updates. Well, according with your knowledge, we know that Iranian intelligence chief, Iranian intelligence ministry, Ismail Khatib has been eliminated by Israeli Air Force, and that is the significant points. Well, here eliminator is 50% chances eliminator would be Israeli Air F-16 fighter planes, and 50% chance would be that the eliminator would be United States F-16 fighter planes. Okay. Now, in that possibilities, here when United States F-16 fighter plane can eliminate Ismail Khatib, the intelligence chief of Iran, where Iran contains AK-47s, modern rifle technology, and Sukhoi 37s, JF-17E as Russian fighter jets and Chinese fighter jets. Yes. Here we can say that the Russian fighter jets and Chinese fighter jets could not protect Ismail Khatib, the Iranian intelligence chief. AK-47s and AK-74 could not protect Ismail Khatib from United States F-16 fighter planes. S-400 and Chinese air defense could not protect Ismail Khatib, the Iranian intelligence chief, from United States F-16 fighter planes. And here accordance with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan predictions, after collapse of United States of America, Imam Mahdi's Muslim force would defeat the Dajjal's Israeli Jewish force, where Dajjal, both of them would contain horse and sword. Okay, this is the point statement of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Well, now here, but Imam Mahdi's sword with 12 billion degree per second cannot defeat United States F-16 fighter planes, where F-16 fighter planes eliminate Ismail Khatib, the Iranian intelligence chief, with Iranian AK-47s and Iranian S-400 made in Russia. Okay. Now here the point is that moments. When Imam Mahdi would be returned, how would be the circumstance? The circumstance would be that United States Army would contain laser ray rifles. Okay. And what is the circumstance of laser ray rifles? Laser ray wavelength would be 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meter. That is the wavelength of United States rifles laser ray. Okay. It is like a heat beam laser ray. Heat beams. I mean, it would be laser beam. Okay. Now, laser beams. What is the laser beam's kinetic energy? The equations of laser beam kinetic energy is Planck constant multiplied by speed of light divided by length wavelength. Okay. And here we can see the points. What is the calculations of laser beam energy? That is 6.673 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 34 enter multiplied by 3 multiplied by 10 to the power 8 enter divided by bracket of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 bracket close. And here how calculation is gone? When 1 divided by 10 to the power negative 666 means 10 to the power 666. And here calculation becomes 6.673 multiplied by 10 to the power bracket of 666 subtract by 34 bracket close multiplied by enter multiplied by 3 multiplied by 10 to the power 8. Okay. Now divided by 666. And here let's check it the points. What is the calculations begins? Calculation is bracket of 6.673 multiplied by 3 divided by 666 bracket close multiplied by 10 to the power bracket of 666 sum by 8 subtract by 34. And hence the answer is 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power 638 joules. Okay. Well, laser beam from rifles can contain the energy of 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power 638 joules if and only if laser beam wavelengths would be 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Okay. Now here is the points. Well, now let's check it. Imam Mahdi's sword length is 2 meters. Well, Imam Mahdi's sword half of weight is 100 kilograms. Let's assume that angular volume is omega. Okay. Now here, the accordance with the information we can say kinetic energy equal to half of weight of Imam Mahdi's sword multiplied by Imam Mahdi's sword's angular velocity square multiplied by Imam Mahdi's sword's length square. Okay. Now what is kinetic energy? That is 302 multiplied by 10 to the power 636. Okay. And what is the multiplication between sword length square multiplied by sword weight, half of weight, that is 400. And here we can see these moments, and here calculations becomes 302 multiplied by 10 to the power 636 enter equal to 400 multiplied by angular velocity square. Hence, what is the angular velocity? That is square root of 302 enter multiplied by 10 to the power 318 enter divided by 20. And here the calculations becomes square root of 302 enter divided by 2 enter multiplied by 10 to the power 317. And here that is the moments. Here angular velocity, here we could say the angular velocity is 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 319 degree per second. Okay. Now here let me mention you the repeated points. Here Atlas angular velocity is 2000 degree per second. Well, 2000 angular degree per second. Well, and it is the momentum at points. But now, when Imam Mahdi's source requires the angular velocity of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 319 degrees per second, and what would happen the moment? The happen is that this time here we could see Imam Mahdi's hand joints would be torn. Hand joints would be torn. It is a torn hand joint. Well, generally we can say that my hand joint is broken, but this times Imam Mahdi's hand joints would be torn in lieu of broken, because Imam Mahdi's source requires the angular velocity of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 319 degree per second to defeat Donald Trump's laser beam rifles with the laser beam wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Okay. Well, here it is the points we can see this moment. But now, let's check it. What is the human specific heat? Well, human specific heat would be 2.98 joule per kilogram per Kelvin. That is human specific heat. Well, let's check it the points. And here we could see that is the moments I can check the significance. First of all, let's check the calculations. Well, now here we can see that is the calculated points. 302. Well, now let's see 302 multiplied by 10 to the power here we can see this moments 302 multiplied by 10 to the power 636. Okay, now here we can see these moments, and now let's divide it what is actual works. When Imam Mahdi's own weight would be 80 kilograms. And now, specific heat of Imam Mahdi would be 2.98. 2.98. Okay. And now let's check it. What would be the temperatures? Well, the temperatures would be 1.267 multiplied by 10 to the power 636 degrees Celsius. Okay. Well, now let's say I am a woman with the physical weights of 80 kilograms, and I think Imam Mahdi's weight would be 80 kilograms, right? And now when the laser Donald Trump fires Imam Mahdi with laser beam rifles. Laser beam rifles, and now when laser beam rifle with the beam wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters would be fired on the head of Imam Mahdi. Well, Imam Mahdi's body temperature would be 1.27 multiplied by 10 to the power 636 degrees Celsius. Well, in this times, in this times, in the hand of United States President Donald Trump, we can say about Imam Mahdi, that is, Inna lillahi wa inna ilahi rajiun. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Okay. Now we can say to Imam Mahdi, Inna lillahi wa inna ilahi rajiun, when United States President Donald Trump would fire laser beam rifles on Imam Mahdi, where laser beam wavelength would be 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Hence, my question is, how is the possible that Abu Toha Adnan's predict that Imam Mahdi's Muslim army would defeat Dajjal's Israeli Jewish army after the collapse of United States of America, when in the existence of Muslim communities, United States of America would not collapse. Moreover, in the last day of judgment, United States contains laser beam rifles with the laser beam wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Okay. That is the significant points. Okay. But now, let's check it. What is the momentum points as we could see? Here, momentums with the significance, here I would mention is, okay. And now, let's assume the laser beam wavelength would be 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative meter. Okay. And now here I would see that is the significant moments. Okay. Well, now here we can see these moments, 666 meters. And here the laser beam's kinetic energy would be what? 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power 638 joules. Okay. Now let's check it. What is the angular velocity of Imam Mahdi's source? Okay. Now I would say the good choice. The good news is every every Islamic prediction is in the base of science. Okay. Now here we can see, and here let's check it, the moments 333, and I think it would not be necessary. Well, now it would be 333. Okay. Now here is the points at some momentums we could see. Every Muslim country would be collapsed, but United States of America would not collapse at the points. More than United States of America would shine at the significant points. Well, okay, it is the significant points at the shines. Well, now here when United States President's laser beam rifles contains laser beam wavelengths of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Here we can see beam energy would be 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power 638 joules. Okay. And now I think here calculations is some different moments. Okay. And here we can see these points. Well, and here that is and in this moments we could see the Imam Mahdi source requires the angular velocity of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 319 degrees per second. And it is the reality at the moments. The reality is very different, and reality is significant that can opposite the Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's predictions about Imam Mahdi. Okay. And now United States laser beam rifles contains the wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power 666 meters. I mean 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Here, in the last days, at the hypothetical points of Israeli army would be the ruling state and United States of America would be collapse. The Israeli laser beam rifles would contain laser beam wavelengths of 666 multiple by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. And now it is the significant points to defeat Dajjal's army. Here Imam Mahdi's source angular velocity would be 5 multiplied by 333 degree per second, and that is we can say the points 2.5 multiplied by 10 to the power 333 times then athlete angular velocity, athlete hand angular velocities, and this time would be say their angular in these points or angular joints of hands would be torn in lieu of broken. And secondly, when Israeli laser beam rifles or United States laser beam rifles with the laser beam wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meter would be on humans' bodies like Imam Mahdi's bodies. Well, Imam Mahdi's body's temperature would be 1.27 multiplied by 10 to the power 666 degrees Celsius. And in these momentums, well, Imam Mahdi's Muslim countries would be Inna lillahi wa inna ilahi rajiun, because in 1945 the nuclear explosions on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, here temperature was almost 50 million degrees Celsius, I mean 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 7 degrees Celsius, and in these times 3,000 Japanese were atomic disappears at that moment. But now, this time, in the last day of Earth, Imam Mahdi sword would face the laser beam temperatures of 1.27 multiplied by 10 to the power 666 degrees Celsius. This noted temperature to be 1.27 multiplied by 10 to the power 666 degrees Celsius. And in these times, opponent would be Imam Mahdi's Islamic force. Well, here India would not exist. Indian civilization would not exist. Iranian civilization would not exist. Pakistan civilization would not exist. Bangladesh civilizations would not exist. But every Muslim civilizations would not exist. But which civilizations would exist? Well, capitalist Western country. England civilization would exist. United States civilizations would exist. Israel civilizations under Dajjal would shine, because laser beam wavelength is 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters, and In that points, in the circumstance here we can see that points. It is the knowledgeable military technology of Israel and United States of America. And in this time here, the scientific predictions say Imam Mahdi's Islamic army would be atomic disappeared, but both of the just Israeli civilizations and United States civilizations would shine minute by minute. Here is the proverb that is day by day, but now proverb for Israeli civilization shining would be minute by minute. And what about United States civilization? Shining would be second by second. Hence, my question is, how is it possible that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan predict Imam Mahdi's victory against Israeli Dajjal's Jewish army after the collapse of United States of America, when Imam Mahdi would defeat Dajjal with sword and horse? Well, because of Dajjal's laser beam, when the Dajjal laser beam rifle contains laser beam wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 meters. Here Imam Mahdi's source, now let's see, Imam Mahdi source would be angular velocity of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 390 degree per second. And that is the moment that is impossible for Imam Mahdi to defeat Dajjal's laser beam rifles. And that is the significant point. Okay. Now here is today's point is just an examination. What if United States President Donald Trump laser beam rifle would be more powerful? And here, that is the significant points as we could see. Well, let's get the journey. And journey is always on. Okay. Well, and here we can see that is the significant points. Well, here journey is always on the moments. Okay. Now here we could see 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 million 666,000 666 meters. Hence, what would be the significance at this moment? Here, let's check it the calculations. Here, I would write 666. Here, I would write 666. And here, I would write comma 666. And it is the significant journeys. Well, now, here the point is, when United States President Donald Trump's laser beam rifles contains the beam wavelengths of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 million 666,000 666 meters. Hence, here laser beam energies would be 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power triple six million triple six thousand 638 joules pulse. Now let's check it. What would be the significance? Okay, and here we could see that is the funds at the moments. Here I can write triple six here. Well, now it is the significant points. Here I can write triple three. Here I can write here triple three. Okay, and here I can write triple three commas, and here we can see the points. Okay, that's the significant moments. Well, here the reality is Imam Mahdi's sword requires the angular velocity of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power triple three million triple three thousand 319 degrees Celsius, and that is the significant points. Well, and here I would say the significant journeys is that moments. Well, in that times, in the period of Imam Mahdi, United States laser beam rifle would contain laser beam wavelengths of triple six multiplied by 10 to the power negative triple six million triple six thousand triple six meters, and here energy laser beam energy would be 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power triple six million triple six thousand 638 joules, and here Imam Mahdi's source angular velocity would be 5 multiplied by 10 to the power triple three million triple three thousand 319 degree per second. And in these points, United States laser beam rifle can contain the laser beam wavelengths of triple six multiplied by 10 to the power negative triple six trillion triple six billion triple six million triple six thousand triple six meters, and hence the laser beam energy would be United States laser beam energy would be 3.01 multiplied by 10 to the power triple six trillion triple six billion triple six million triple six thousand 638 joules. And here the Imam Mahdi's source record the angular velocity to be 5 multiplied by 10 to the power triple three trillion triple three billion triple three million triple three thousand 319 degree per second, and that is the significant points at the moment. That would be 2.5 multiplied by 10 to the power triple three trillion triple three billion triple three million triple three thousand 316 times angular faster than athlete hand giant's angular velocity. And in this times, here athlete's hand would be torn in lieu of broken. But wait a minute. When laser beams would be on Imam Mahdi's source, Imam Mahdi's body temperature would be 1.27 multiplied by 10 to the power 666 trillion 666 billion 666,000 million 666,000 636 degrees Celsius. And in this moment, in trillion times years, Muslim civilization would not exist in trillion times. Okay. And now, after trillion times later, there can be the similar ideology of Islamic ideology, but the last prophet it would be different from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and last religious ideological God would be different from Islamic Allah. And here we could see that here is our significant points. Islamic ideology would be biological atomic disappears in the hand of Dajjal's Israeli Jewish army with laser beam wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 trillion 666 billion 666 million 666,000 666 meters. And now here is my questions, that how is possible that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan predict Imam Mahdi's Islamic victory against the Israeli Jewish army after the collapse of United States of America, where Ismail Khatib, the Iranian intelligence chief, could not protect herself with S-400, AK-47s and Russian Sukhoi-37 from United States F-16 fighter planes. And that is the significant points, that is the reality, so that Maulana Abu Taha Adnan's predictions about Imam Mahdi has been false. Okay. Now here we can see this moment. But wait a moment. In a previous live stream, we have react on Abu Taha Adnan's Instagram reels, where Abu Taha Adnan reject the Islamic Aqidah of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Now Islamic, Abu Taha Adnan reject Saudi Arabian Islamic Aqidah and accept Iranian Islamic Aqidah. Hence, we can see that Abu Toha Adnan's Iranian, according to Abu Toha Adnan's Iranian Islamic Aqidah, Abu Toha Adnan's prediction about Imam Mahdi's sword era would be false. False. Proven by science. And here, I believe that Abu Toha Adnan's Islamic predictions about Imam Mahdi is unscientific, and our prediction to false, our prediction to prove Maulana Abu Taha Adnan false about Imam Mahdi is the pure scientific at the moment. Now, what is the point? Here is the significant journeys at the moment. Well, now it is the significant ways. Okay. Well, now let's talk it in the third ways. In the last day, probably United States of America would be back to sword, but their sword is laser beam sword. In lieu of the sword like a iron sword, but it would be the points when the fight would be like a boxing fight. In the boxing fight positions, sword would be okay, but today's war position is here two side soldiers would be in the distance of 50 meters or 100 meters or 300 meters, and here sword is some useless points, and here rifle is significant. Okay, now when the rifle is significant, okay, now here we can see rifle. When rifle is significant at the moment, United States laser beam rifles would contain here the wavelength of 666 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 666 trillion 666 meters. Yes. And this is the points that can provide the advantage for United States to fight against Imam Mahdi's sword. Because to defeat United States laser beam rifles, Imam Mahdi's sword required almost angular velocity of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 333 trillion 390 degree per second. And it is the moments that can significant points. Some we could see the several times here Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's predictions about Imam Mahdi is collapsed by science. It is proven. And it is the points about Imam Mahdi, and Imam Mahdi is proving Maulana Abu Toha Adnan wrong. Well, now here my next topic would be some different live stream. Well, live stream topic is to roast Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, but this time here in different points I would be back with the different live stream, because of here reels of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan would be different. See you then. Khuda Hafiz. Love you.